La-da-dee, la-da-da-do, la-da-da-me, la-da-da-you. La-da-dee, la-da-da-do, there's only me, there's only you. La-da-dee, la-da-da-do, la-da-da-me, la-da-da-you. La-da-dee, la-da-da-do, when you were gone, I think of you.
Hey guys, it's Anne-Marie. So this is all advice that I would give to myself starting off like in the summer before senior year, because I didn't do any of this, and I'll like tell you guys within this video, and it was so stressful. So here's me giving the advice that I would give to myself to you guys. And before anyone asks, I've been getting some questions on this. I'm going to be going to USC, so that's the University of Southern California. The first semester of senior year is going to be really busy for you. You're going to be applying to colleges, trying to keep your GPA strong, and also I applied to a lot of scholarships, so that is all basically before December or before January 1st. The earlier you start, the less you'll have to do later on, and it all really just piles up. Like, you cannot escape this process, so if you start earlier, it'll just be much more beneficial to you. The very first step in this process of college picking is to actually pick the colleges that you would go to. And I would recommend getting a top 10 list of colleges that you would go to. You don't necessarily have to apply to these later on, but you can just have an idea of where you would want to go. You want to have reach schools and safety schools. Reach schools are the schools that are kind of a reach to get into. You're kind of sitting at the average in comparison to all of their statistics, or you're kind of under their average of admitted students. And safety schools are schools that you know you will get into. You're like above the average of the admitted student statistics, and you're pretty much just guaranteed to get in. So this isn't completely true, but for the most part, colleges look for your GPA and your SAT and ACT scores. But when you're considering your reach and safety schools, you also have to consider a big number of things. Finances, like how much it costs to get in there, where it is, the academics, and if they're challenging enough for you, if it's a private or a public university, quality of life, the majors that are popular at the university or that they offer or that you would want to take. So basically you just have a huge list of things that you have to look for when you're deciding to choose your top 10 list of colleges. I have this book, I got it at Barnes & Noble's. It's the best 377 colleges. And basically it has all of the top colleges in the United States, and I think there are also some other countries. So I basically went through this book, flipped through every single one of the university pages. Personally, I wanted to find a college that was kind of a challenging, well-known college that was probably like the top 50 or top 20. So what I did was I looked at the freshman profile and kind of looked at the ACT scores, the percentage of graduated top 10% of the class, because I was in the top 10% of my class. And then I also looked at the quality of life rating. That was really important to me. And of course, if I saw schools that I recognized or heard about a lot, I also marked that page. So I ended up having all of these stickers, and I probably even had more. So this didn't take that long. It took less than an hour just to go through the actual statistics and ratings and just see which colleges that I would kind of be interested in. And then after that, I kind of went through all of the stickies that I had in here, and then I separated them from schools that I would actually want to apply to. Like, I think these were it, and then these were just kind of like schools that met my criteria, but I didn't really want to apply because of the place. I was looking for schools on the West Coast because I live in Alaska and I lived in Washington, so I'm pretty used to the West Coast. Or I wanted to be in Atlanta or really close to Atlanta because both of my siblings go to Atlanta. And then my exception for both of these like criteria was if I got in, I would definitely go to UPenn, so University of Pennsylvania. If you guys are curious, this is my top 10 list of schools. Emory University, University of Pennsylvania, USC, or like University of Southern California, Claremont McKenna, Vanderbilt, UC Berkeley, UCLA, U Chicago, University of Washington, and did I already say Pomona? I don't know. I think that was 9 or 10. And I didn't end up applying to a lot of those actually. So I applied to UCLA, UC Berkeley, USC, Emory University, Vanderbilt, and then University of Pennsylvania, and I think that's it. And I got into USC, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Emory, and I didn't get into University of Pennsylvania. And I also applied to Dartmouth because I remember that I didn't get in there. And I also did not get into Vanderbilt. It was weird because I got into all the California schools and I got into like Emory, but none of the other schools on the East Coast. So that was really good for me because I think I wanted to be in California anyways, and I'm going to USC now, so those are just all the schools that I applied to and got into. So anyways, what was I saying? Oh, right. Some other really good resources of looking at colleges are these websites. College Board, which is basically a really official, legit website for college searching. It has all of the same qualities that that book does, and there's also like a similar colleges like this function, so you can click on that and then see which colleges are like the ones that you've been looking at. So another good website for college like information is College Confidential, and this is basically like a Google for all college related questions. If you type in Google like a college question or like a question about a certain college, it will most likely take you to College Confidential because that's where students answer other students' questions, and it's basically just a really good resource, like personal experience type of website. And then the last one that I think is a good website for college searching is College Prowler. This is like the least legitimate out of all of the college searches, I think, but basically on this one you can look at like anecdotes and personal like student comments. And also another really cool function that they have, which I'm not really sure how like legitimate it is, you can see how you stack up in admission. You can enter your GPA and then your standardized test scores or your estimated predicted standardized test scores and see like where you on the chart of accepted students and like not accepted students and all that stuff. The next piece of advice is to be really organized. Just go ahead and buy a planner or a calendar, and you need to put the dates of your application deadlines in the calendars right now. So look on the school's website and see when the application deadline is due. And personally, for every single college I applied to it the day before. So this was super stressful, and I would highly not recommend this. It's a gradual process. Don't do it all at once and you'll be fine and way better off than I was. Also in your calendar, you want to put scholarship deadlines. For USC, they had an earlier deadline, which was like December 15th. And if you applied by that deadline, you'd automatically be considered for a bunch of scholarships. I didn't even apply by that date. I applied January 15th, and so I wasn't even like entered or like considered for a USC scholarship. Going back to starting now, I know that Common Application, which is basically the website that a lot of schools that I applied to require in order for you to apply to that school. They announced that Common App will have the same questions, the same essay questions. So basically you could theoretically get started right now and be prepared to apply for college on August 1st when they open up the website for applications. So I'm going to talk about the essay portion of the Common Application now because I feel like a lot of you will be using it. When I was writing my essay, and I know this is the same for my sister, we just had this image of a perfect essay that we wanted to write about. And if you have like this perfect image of something, you don't want to ruin it by like actually starting it, because then you just have a rough draft of something that is completely not what you pictured it to be. But you have to start it sometime, so I would suggest if you're having trouble starting your essay, brainstorm for a while, you know, like at least a few days, like think about what you want to write about, try to pick a solid topic. Once you have an idea of what you want to write about, just sit down on your computer or like with your pen and pencil and paper and do what I call a word vomit, and that's basically just putting all of the words and thoughts that you have in your head just onto paper without even thinking about it. Don't even like look for grammar errors or anything, just all onto paper or your computer. And this will help you just get started because you're not gonna have your perfect essay the first draft that you write it. My first draft was like it was not recognizable from my last draft. Like they were not the same thing basically. If you start earlier and just do a word vomit, then you can start the editing process, and trust me, you'll want to edit a lot, so this isn't a bad thing. This essay is basically like the college's way of seeing what you're capable of creating and writing, so you want to be able to edit a lot and get a lot of feedback from different people. So another piece of advice that I have is to have a lot of different people critique it. My teacher actually made this Common App essay response and assignment for her class, and her advice was not helpful whatsoever. It didn't take away from the point of my essay, and it didn't really add anything. And it was just like kind of surprising because you would expect that your teacher would give you like helpful advice, would be the one to give you helpful advice. But my best advice came from my friend Rachel. She basically just helped me with like adjusting the content that I was really having troubles with. I was trying to tell a story and I already know the story really well. And I wasn't sure how to cut down the story, and she didn't know the story, but she said that I was telling the same story by cutting down this portion. So it was just really helpful to have a second opinion, but also just know that you should go to different people. Don't rely on like one person to give you your editing tips. Different people have different opinions, and you don't have to take everyone's opinion. The next thing that I'm going to talk about are standardized tests, the ACTs or the SATs. If you did not know, both tests are really, really different. So what you kind of want to do is you want to take a practice test for each of them. You want to take one for each and then see which one you do better on comparatively on a conversion chart. And then you're going to want to only focus on studying for one test. And this is especially for if you haven't started studying and you're in senior year, or if you just like, if this is a complete last minute thing, because that was totally the case for me. I think I started studying in September and then I had to be finished by December. I studied for 2 months and I raised my score by 3 points. The only way to really practice and improve your score is to do the tests under a timed environment, time testing environment, and then review your answers. I would highly recommend taking the test or whichever test that you're taking at least 2 times. Like I said, USC had a deadline scholarship where you automatically were entered for scholarships. But if you don't think you're gonna get like a big school scholarship, first of all, actually, I'm gonna back up and say you should definitely just apply, because you never know. Apply for those scholarships at the big schools. I applied for like the Emory scholarship, and I applied for a USC scholarship and I got it. It wasn't very big, but it was like $8,000. It takes a lot of time because usually there are essays involved, but it's really, really worth it if you get it. But also I got the majority of my scholarships from local businesses and places. So basically I applied for like a bunch of really small scholarships and they kind of accumulated and made like a bigger chunk of money. So it's a lot easier to get local scholarships because just the people around you are competing to get that scholarship. And if you're like the top of your class, or you have a really good story to tell, or you have really good test scores, then you're more likely to get like a local scholarship than a national scholarship that everyone in the nation is applying to. Ask your counselor, ask your like, I don't know what they're called, they're like, there are people made for this in schools. This is why you should definitely start early with your essay and stuff like that, because basically for every single one of my scholarships, I copied and pasted some of my essay from like either my Emory scholarship application essay or just my Common App essay. Basically all of my essays were a big compilation of other essays that I had to write for other things. Like, I don't know if that's allowed, but they pretty much all ask generally the same thing. So I just copied and pasted and then added what I needed to. And you might find yourself doing that a lot, especially if you applied to as many scholarships as I did. Like I think I applied to like 10 or something, and they all had essays, and yeah, I basically just used a lot of copy and paste. Yeah, that's pretty much all of the information that I thought of. I hope this was really helpful for you guys. I really tried to like compile like a really helpful video in this little series. And so I hope you guys liked it, and be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye! So today I'm really excited because I'm starting my back to school series. Yeah, it's super early, but I've been getting a bunch of requests. Like, that's my #1 requested video right now, is to do